Brothers and sisters, here we are one more time. I'm glad I could be here. I'm glad you could be here. I just have to say this right here. Uh, the disaster in the West has not happened today, obviously, but it shall be here. There are a lot of little things that are accumulating to being what I would say the bottom line or the last straw, the one in which it will break the camel's back and render its hump useless. Now, what I have to say is this. This week, there were several events that took place that were, to me, major in their own way, because one of them is a sign of things to come potentially to this very land that we live in. And then another one is something that actually took place from the hands of the so called government that people are supposed to obey. Now, what's funny about this is the second link here on the CNN, and it's a pretty, it's not too lengthy, but it's lengthy enough. But I'm not going to read it. But I would like for you guys to go ahead and check it out, and it pretty much speaks on things that I've talked about for a very very long time. Anybody that knows me knows that I've spoke on the indiscriminate drone strikes and bombing of villages and lands far off. And I've spoke on this for as long as I've been on YouTube. Um, as long as I've been on YouTube, I've told people about folks being addicted to opioids and how, even though it wasn't really, they didn't talk about it really till about 4 years ago. But a year before that, I was already, knee deep, neck deep, or whatever, eyeballs deep in the game, because I was trying to inform people that what they're doing here, or what they had done here, essentially was they had brought back the sensation of opiates, i.e., through Oxycontin, Oxycodone, Percocets, and then all the derivatives there of the like after. Even the things like Suboxone that are supposed to be used to get people off of the drugs, they've actually used, or people have gotten addicted to. So there's there's that avenue that I've tried to show people, and then there's the actual other avenue of things that where in which it's up to them whether or not they want to believe it. But now that we've gotten to the point to where, if you don't like that it comes from MSN, I got a direct CNN um, article that speaks on how the Biden administration may have killed, up to 7 children, right? Innocent personnel, so called. The point being this is that they've been doing this shit for 20 years. You understand? So for them to blow up this one instance, right? What about the hundreds, if not thousands, of strikes that were permitted in the Trump presidency, going all the way back? I mean, to whenever they started using drone strikes. They've been doing this shit forever. But they'll politicize an event so that way they can try to make something out of it. But what about when they've killed whole villages trying to get one person? I won't tell you about that. And then the audacity that these so-called sitting senators have the nerve to say that it creates terrorists, when indignation, which is righteous anger, which is something that they should normally feel, now you're trying to deny them of their natural emotions, which they should actually feel. If you're a if you are truly a person and not a human, if listen to me, if you are truly a person and not a human, there are things that you will acknowledge bother you, no matter the circumstances, because damn be it all if you can't speak up for yourself when it matters the most. And for those people, Gentiles and alike, who want to believe that these individuals were innocent, what about all the other lives lost? Why get up on a why make an outrage about it? You understand what I'm saying? Why make an outrage about things that you know that this is so mind-boggling that individuals will out of their neck say one thing like, well, I served in the military and this is how we would have done it, you know, and then out the other side of the neck, try to call America Satan. The two things don't line up. You can't have honorably served a country, call this place America your home, and then on the other side of the pillow, tell me out your mouth, yo, I believe that this place is the great Satan. So you not only served the great Satan, but murdered for the great Satan, because nothing you do, no matter what they tell you, they create the situations that make people have to lose their lives, that make Gentiles to have to lose their lives. Gentile and men create these situations and everything in between. They create the circumstances that make it for someone who is not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not looking for trouble. They're not seeking that out. That's not what they desire. But you brought a circumstance to them and they have to face it. They have to confront it. See, I just think it's so weird that the disaster in the West that people don't see coming is so clear. It's clear to me. Y'all can go. I'm not even going to put no descriptions in. Just get on my channel and look for the corporate greeds. Just look for them. I let people know before the pandemic, way before the pandemic ever happened, talking about corporate greed, talking about how dollar stores were going to take over places that were considered food deserts. I talked about this before cats were even bringing them up. Before these dudes was even talking about food deserts, I brought them up. Okay? I told people that Joe Biden, yes, Joe Biden, his first real job was with the private equity firm. People don't know that about him. He helped create private equity firms. Your president, right? And that same individual who helped create these private equity firms, right on, you can blame him for way more than just locking up black people. He's the reason why they were able to come into certain neighborhoods, create franchises, and drive black people out of business. The same franchises start to go down. They go and buy them all up, sell everything off, and then they just become vacant buildings in neighborhoods. This is what happened. That's a byproduct of something that he helped to create. So when people try to tell me or people want to insist or infer or incite in their mind out of their two lips something as ridiculous as this is my country too, you're a motherfucking lie. Because I didn't do anything other than pay taxes, which is blood money, because every single dollar you make, when they tax it, they use it for the war efforts. This is why, as much as I'm against somebody being a vagrant, there's a whole nother level of me that's like, they're so righteous, they don't even know. And I'm way more unrighteous than I'm willing to say, because I'm still willing to participate in this system that makes me guilty and puts blood on my hands inadvertently, because they take our money and they put it forth to uses of nefarious means. See, that's the truth. That's the whole truth. That's nothing but the truth. People don't want to hear that. That's too much for anyone to have to take on, that they're actually responsible for lives lost in a foreign land. You're responsible for lives lost in the land that you live in, because you pay taxes. You paid for those bullets that shot little Tyrone, that shot little Shaquita. You paid for that, whether you want to hear it or not. Because you are a piece of the cog in the system, you have to have paid for that. Dijon Kizzy's blood is on all of our hands, not just that officer who murdered him. They created this system of wickedness just like this for that purpose. For that purpose. And then they'll tell you that we must tax you. So I'm just trying to figure out, when are other people going to see that it's a problem? It's a problem. You have a problem on your hands in this land that you live in. Here's a question for y'all. What if only half of 1%, hell, we'll do we'll do 10% of of 1%, which is 50. Let's say out of 50,000 Afghan refugees who are going to come here, one per every single state loses their mind and goes crazy. Does some shit they ain't got no business doing. Even worse, your government doesn't report it to you. One that's swept under the rug. How would you know? See, these are the type of things that nobody wants to ask. They don't want to bring it forth because they don't want to seem like they're rocking the boat. But the thing is these guys will complain. Riddle me this. How can someone be a leader of the people and yet they're nowhere to be found? And the answers that they have for the questions, they're not satisfactory, not even close to satisfactory, and they're not even honest answers. They're forms of posturing. So, how I know there's a disaster here in the West? The only country that folks ever prided themselves on being able to so-called stand up against their government to, right? Freedom of speech. They're telling you now that if you speak out against getting a shot pumped into your arm or wherever they shoot you up with this thing at, that if you don't do it, you're not patriotic. But what happened to a part of your freedom of speech is your freedom of choice because you choose the words you're going to speak. There, you, I have never met a person unless there was a gun to their head in a movie, and I ain't never actually met them. I ain't never seen nothing like that. Like a person says words that they don't mean or that they don't know what they're about to say. Every word I formulated came out of my mouth, out of my mind. Thus far, my whole life. I may have used something that I heard from someone, but nobody's made me to say a damn thing. So when you have this idea that someone can make you to make a decision the same way that you would speak words that might incite violence, now hear what I'm getting at. They're trying to tell you that, so I should be able to go and use fighting words loosely. I should be able to say whatever I want, no consequences. Because there's no consequence for those who are going to pump this shit into your body, and then you possibly have adverse or potentially fatal effects from this so-called vaccination. The disaster in the West is setting in, and people can't even see it happening. They can't because they don't want to. Like I said, a lot of brothers and sisters are so comfortable, right? They're as comfortable as that shoulder chuck I got over there and the black beans and the sweet potatoes and the yams that I got sitting back there in that crock pot, all breaking down together with a little garlic on it. They're comfortable like that. They just sitting. And they're able to sit because they don't believe that anything is going to happen to them. And truth be told, they really don't believe in anything that they've ever heard. What they believe in. See, I'm a personal a seeker of truth, and I see things with my two eyes. And I've met more individuals who only believe in them than I've met people who actually believe in the constructs of life. Putting it in layman terms, I've met more people who believe that once they die, or once they perish, or once they transition, right? Once that happens, they believe that all these things cease. Well, for them, it does. The world is over for them, but it's not over for everyone else. But that's all they know. They know that when it's over for me, it's done, and that's all that matters. But that's not the truth. Because what about continuity, longevity, right? What about posterity? And see, when you leave all those things out of your mind, it's easy to act as if nothing is going to happen to you. I've never been one to tell my people, go out here and try to live your so-called best life, right? Because that's unreal. What's an honest and what's a realistic thing is that you can live comfortable, so to speak, But you should never be so far carried away with what you're doing that it takes your eye off the prize. You see what I'm saying? If you're so comfortable that you no longer believe that there's going to be a great calamity in this land, right? That you believe that there's going to be some way, shape, and form that everything just fixes itself, you're in trouble. You're not in trouble. You are in deep trouble. But it's not just because you don't care. It's because you don't realize how it's going to affect all those that you believe you love and you have outward affection for. See, I love myself inwardly and outwardly. I love me some me. Like everybody, I hope all y'all love you some you, because I love me some me. Can you dig that? Having said that, being made into a certain way to be a certain way, right? I have to tell my people that I can see the writing on the wall. I didn't know that the Army Ranger beating the black chick to death out here really has something to do with Afghanistan until I put it all together. There was another little crazy dude down there in Florida who lost his mind, said that the little girl was abducted in a sex ring or something like that, killed her whole family. Little baby in the mother's arms. Killed everybody, all but the little girl. Former veteran, served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Can't help but to think he just had a nervous breakdown, and can't help but to think that that dude really was just feeling like, you know what? I went over there so that way cats like this could live their so-called best life. To have the ability to speak against what I done, knowing that they didn't have the gumption nor the heart to get out there and do what I done. It take a lot of courage. Let me tell you, this is coming from personal experience of being somebody who actually, would before I even got, they're talking about when I was 17, going on 18, when I was first into the delayed entry program, DEP. I was DEP'd in, right? And I used to have dreams about being in Afghanistan or Iraq. And I'm talking about getting killed in my dreams. And it used to be so real to me. And that was part of the reality that I had to come to terms with and face and understand that this could actually happen to me because this is what it is. So, no different than it would have been for me to deny that reality is it for people right now. Do y'all get what I'm getting at when I say that? No different would it have been for me to deny the reality that death could have been imminent for my persons. Right. That's the bottom line. Once you sign your life away, people don't know. You have to pick a beneficiary for your SGLI just in case your ass get laid out. You pick several beneficiaries just in case something happens to that person. Right on? Right. You have a primary and a secondary. Pick my mother or my father. Peace, brother. Peace. You know, I I literally put my mother and my father as my SGLI though, right? That's it. I swear to God, people don't understand that that was a real life thing. When you don't have to go through that, and that's not a reality for you, you don't have to make those kind of prime time decisions. People have never made those kind of. I was making those kind of decisions at 18 years old. I'm 30 right now. I need people to really understand this. At 18, I had to decide who would I leave all whatever I was worth to the so-called United States government had something happen to me. That's a real thing. So for people to act like it's not a real thing or to act like it doesn't happen, a folded flag and $400,000 at the time is not worth your life. It's just not. Wasn't worth my life. But people can't see that I accepted that reality. Now, there's a lot of folks who are living in this land who don't want to accept the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. How many people live in states where they've seen storefronts shuttered in their city that just a year and a half ago were doing pretty well? They were doing okay. I know a spot that was thriving before the pandemic. Pandemic killed it. Called the House of Donuts. Pandemic totally murdered it. Got it out the game. Put a little dirt on his ass and pat it down. That's how it happened. It happened like that to a bunch of these businesses out here. The city I live in, Tacoma, had you can look this up, had the nation's largest budget to battle homelessness. Are y'all hearing me? Put this into your mind. I didn't put this link there. I apologize. I'll look for it and I'll try to find it. If I don't, forgive me. Tacoma had the nation's largest budget to fight homelessness. Because when I say that, they said only 4,000 are homeless in Tacoma. It's way more than that. Beyond that point, though, there are people who got to realize that just because you got a bunch of money to throw at something, if you don't have viable solutions, the money don't mean nothing. Don't mean nothing. The West, whoever thinks they have a Western mentality, even though Australia is way over to the east, they think they have a Western mentality. All these places are facing similar things. They're all going through similar problems. One of those links is talking about, matter of fact, it's in the description box. So you guys will have to roll down and click on that. But in the description box, there's a link. And Brother Ben Judah, who lives in the UK, told me about this months and months ago, before the pandemic even was like terrible the way it is. He was telling me that there might be permanent food shortages over there. There's an article making it clear food shortages are likely to be permanent in the UK. Permanent. As opposed to Parliament saying, hey, all these containers on the ports, you're going to crack them open and we're going to create a commerce on the ports and people can come and shop for these goods at a reduced price so we can still move the goods, make the money off of it, right? No, what they want to do is they want to sequester the goods, hike up the prices, and then gouge everyone. Doesn't even make sense if you want your economy to come back. Doesn't even. Just like it makes even less sense to throw millions and millions and millions of dollars at homelessness in the second largest city in the state, in the second largest county in the state, right on where I'm living at, and then think that that's going to fight something when you don't have any real solutions. Do you know they're just now trying to build tiny villages, tiny little small villages? It's not even here. I want to say it's California or some other place. It's not even in Washington. Right. They could have spent that money, not even building tiny villages, buying up the property on places that had been foreclosed, renovating it, and then putting homeless folks inside of it, starting with families first. Wow. Wow. For cats who wanted to stay outside forever, you go and find one of the areas in the city that no one's really going to, that's still a part of the city, and then you build it up for them. Wow. How hard is that? All that money wasted, though, because folks want to line their pockets and get rich. The disaster in the West is going to be something like no other, y'all. It's going to be something vicious. It's going to be something crazy because you have so many people who don't have anything, who are literally looking for a way out, and what they want is for someone to assist them, but not to overhelp them. They want to feel like they still have some kind of bearing and control over themselves. And then there's other individuals who don't need assistance. They need outright help. But the problem is those who are allocated the money, those who the resources are aggregated to, fail to dispense properly and righteously in the right areas with the right amount of means to address these situations. I'm not just talking about here, I'm talking about everywhere, y'all. So if you think it's just Tacoma, listen, I just used Tacoma. They talked about LA. Okay? Where? They talked about where is it in the South? Homelessness rampant right now. Somewhere in Florida. Talked about a couple different places over the US. It's just something to think about. If there's no homeless people where you live, check this right here out. Drive outside of your city, get outside of your county, get outside of your comfort zone, and go see. And go see how close it actually really is to you. Then go find out how close they are to pushing these cats inbounds to where you live. People are like, what's this got to do with the disaster? You can't come back from a so-called recession when a major part of your workforce was just made homeless. It's impossible. It's literally impossible because those individuals don't have the security of being able to go somewhere every night. So therefore, the perceived assured safety that you have within your dwelling is not even available to them. These are small things, see, and people will shrug it off, and it's really unfortunate. But I'm glad that they do because it tells me where they're at in their maturity. Question for everyone, since everybody, thinks that they understand what's going on in the land that they live in. What are you going to do when you find out that something similar to what's going on in the UK is happening here? When they have, listen, permanent, not a question, permanent shortages. What are you going to do? Since everybody's so smart. Right. The shit ain't the fucking purge. And suffice it to say, no disrespect to anybody, I guarantee you right now, over 90%, like 94, 95% of the entire earth, if you put a rifle in my hands versus them, it's over. 5%, maybe even less than that, have a true 50-50 shootout chance with your boy. Talking about straight up. No bullshit. Not me trying to ambush him or catch him slipping or lacking. Nah, just straight up. I'm filthy, y'all. I'm really filthy with the shit. You give me a musket, I'm gonna still get a motherfucker. It don't matter. But that's the difference between me and other cats. These other individuals don't know. Bro, I will get on your ass. There's a reason I got an ERPA. Because I don't even get violent with people. There was a reason it was on me in the first place. Cats don't think that I'm okay. Y'all afraid of the police. Dudes is afraid of the police and think they fucking with me. And I'm trying to give them the understanding that they're not even on that level. They're not even ready for all that. I'll beat somebody to death with my bare hands. No problem. I won't think nothing about it. Some individuals don't even have the physical strength to be able to take somebody else up out of here. That's the difference. I'm trying to give y'all the game right now. Understand this. It's not somebody who got a beer gut and is 20 years out their prime saying this shit to you. This is a nigga who's like, yo, I've actually seen shit happen to people, good people and bad people. I've had shit happen to me. I've done shit to other people. I'm still here. I've heard of niggas who done Little Birdie told me niggas who done did me wrong ain't even on the earth no more. Come on. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. But I have the kind of put together mentality where I understand certain things. I'm not here to make nobody feel good. I'm here to try to tell you, yo, What's coming here to where you live is going to make you, if you're already uncomfortable, prepared to get more uncomfortable. It's not going to get no better. Gas price, okay, so why do you think they're actually fracking in places? Why? Trying to, at least. Why do you think they won't let them frack? What do you think is helping to cause all this flood, all these wildfires, all this? Because they're fucking with the environment. The actual ecosystem that they need to live in. I told y'all before, let me repeat it to y'all again. The stupidest thing I've ever heard a Gentile say out their two lips, and the bitch meant it. She said, I care more about the economy than I care about the ecosystem. Had me thinking like that for years till I got older, wiser, had much more understanding, and was like, this bitch is a retard and the devil. You care more about the economy than the environment? Really? See, you have individuals like that in power, though. She was just my teacher. You don't think Joe Biden thinks like that? George Bush thinks like that? You don't think all those, Donald Trump, all of them, Barack Obama, you don't think they all thought like that? I mean, you have to go back to Theodore Roosevelt over 100 years ago, who actually made land conservations in America. And he probably didn't even give a fuck like that. Come on. It's because of him they built the Panama Canal, started the good neighbor policy, speak softly, carry a big stick. That individual. See, when you remember what you were taught, you don't have to go hop back into books and keep reading it. You just remember it and you're like, oh yeah, this individual did that, or this happened around this time. You can do that when you care about what it is that you're trying to do. I care about y'all. So I'm telling y'all, there is something terrible coming. Let's go back to that 10% of 1%. Whoa, let's get the numbers right. 50,000 so-called Afghan refugees are for sure going to be coming to the U.S. They're building the little cities for them. Right on the little cities I was talking about. I just can't think of which army base it is. Might be Fort Bragg. It might not be. Anyway, they're building a small city to house 50,000. 50,000. Listen, 50,000 refugees. You're going to do that for them, but won't build small cities to house the homeless as a transitional place so that way people can get back on their feet. And if they want to stay there, so be it. What? See what I'm saying? That's the kind of shit I'm talking about right there. They have the heart to want to help individuals who literally help bring chaos, death, and destruction to their lands that they used to live in. Gonna bring them here, gonna house them in the same kind of housing you can house all the homeless in America in. Wow. See, I'm indignant for a reason. You're telling me you're going to be able to build some shit for 50,000 motherfuckers? Ain't even from here. They're all the way from the East, for sure. Have the Eastern mentality and all that. And I don't disrespect the East. I love the East. I'm just saying, yo, you got people who live here in the West. Don't put it down for this country. Black people in particular. And niggas have to live in tents. And besides the fact that we come from folks who used to live in tents all the time, which is why you see us in tents, I'm not even going to break all that down. I just need y'all to understand where I'm getting at with this. You'd rather not house us? There's a spot on 8th and Yakima. It's about 10 blocks altogether. 7 blocks one way, a couple blocks the other. So 8th and Yakima. And it's bad. When I say it's bad, y'all, it's bad. Okay? It's like Little Skid Row. It's grimy over there. They had a couple murders, all kinds of dumb shit that happened over there. Thing is this, though. There's a lot behind where they're all at that the state or the city with all those millions could have paid. If they, I mean, they care about all these immigrants so much, they could have paid an immigrant Mexican company to lay the foundation, put up all the walls, make the shit nice and janky, pay them a few dubs to do it, and housed all the cats who were staying right there, plus more. That's what I'm talking about. And if we get to talking about opioid epidemics, if we get to talking about gun violence, if we get to talking about the children delivering their parents up to death, if we get to talking about he and she, right on, right? That is tender among thy people shall stare with an evil eye among the child in their bosom. If we get to talking about shit like that, then we have to understand that, oh, it's way more going on. And people don't want to accept, hey, this is going to affect you, bro. This is going to happen coming soon to a theater near you. Not far, but near you. Has to. It must. If I live in an okay part of town, which used to be a bad part of town, and is starting to slowly turn back into a revolving door where anything can happen over here, how am I supposed to look at that and not say, okay, something crazy is going on? Because just 5 years ago, well, 6 years ago, really, when I first got up in here, it wasn't nothing like that. Couple homeless here and there. I need y'all to understand, I've literally watched the landscape change. I know all y'all have seen it in your own states. Can't nobody tell me that they haven't. Unless you are living in a gated community, right? Away from everything, and you work at home. I'm talking about you're in a gated community in the hills. Okay, you can't, not nowhere close to the city, nothing. Yo, you make little sense. Because if you're coming from anywhere other than up on the hill, away from the city, you sound crazy. Because you see it every day. You see people losing their minds every day. And folks want to be like, oh, they're crazy, but they're not. How crazy are they for losing their mind in a system that literally is built on insanity? And if they can say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result, then the truth can be said about the opposite. Doing a different thing and expecting the same result. We'll put it to you like this: if slavery is what made this country popping and popular, and you no longer have slavery, how long can it pop and be popular? Really, how long? Right. So will they revert back to what it is that made this place what it is? Will all the earth all co-sign that? Will the people pray? Probably not. I can't think of the angel's name, and I won't pick up the book of Enoch to find it. The angel who hears all prayers from man, and they decide it's one angel who probably has a group of angels under him, but it's one angel who ultimately decides which prayers go to the Most High God. Will the people have enough sense to pray? What's coming to the West is something vicious. All your enemies are already here, black people. Right. The same white devil that oppressed you and everyone else who wants to be like, they want to be a white devil light, Lite. You know, like a Miller or a Coors or a Bud. Only, Bud Light is GHT still. Let's just tell the truth. If you're among your enemies already, and more of enemy associates or enemies affiliates or enemies incorporated decide to join in and say that we will co-sign the fuckery, what are black people going to do? You don't have the numbers, you don't have the know-how, and you don't have the resources to fight back. If you did, Dr. King would have done so. You don't think he understood all that? Why do you think he said what he said in the speech talking about when he was saying about going to go get the check. Right on? That's where they got to cut the check from. These niggas don't even give Dr. King. These same dudes, listen to this. These same dudes just years ago was calling him Dr. Martin Luther King. Same so-called supposed to be leaders was calling Dr. King a coon. Dr. Coon. I know what I'm talking about. Why they was uplifting Malcolm X, even though Malcolm X and uplifting Farrakhan got one dude on one shoulder who had the other guy killed, and you're praising them both. And these niggas don't think there's something wrong with them up here. Neither here nor there. But still, you got cats who are literally using stuff that Dr. King said. And Dr. King told us, black people don't have the armament. They don't have the training. They don't have the resources to go toe to toe. No things change. If you own less than a percent, right on, of everything, the whole time you've been here, stop, and you own less than 1% now, what makes you think you're ready to go toe to toe? Tastes so good. That beer tastes like justice, like that lemonade tasted. The lemonade tastes a little better because obviously you don't have that bite on it like beer does. Still, that tasted so good just then. Just to think about that and then take a cold sip of some, wow, I can't believe I'm one of the only people, if not the only person, talking about this type of stuff. And it's real. What information do I need to bring forth? I brought everything forth. Talked about heterozygosity, homozygosity. Everybody, white folks know they're not people. Only ones who don't know are the black people. We're not even black. Come on. Our people are described as white sheep in the book of Enoch, meaning pure, meaning righteous. Come on. Black Boers were born of our first cousin lineage, i.e., the Edomites or the Idumeans, the children of Esau. Yes. And black being what? Impure, evil, repulsive, wicked. I'm almost done calling us black people. I want to call us something else because I know we're not those things. Not all of us. And I know there's far more evil, repulsive, and wicked, pig-skinned, so-called people than there are folks who look like us. I know that to be a fact. The West has it coming. Everywhere that's considered itself Western has something bad coming to it. Only in this land is it okay for your daughter to become a whore at 18. Only here, and maybe the UK. But in this land, it's all right. And she's considered grown, even while biblically she's still a child, she's considered grown in this land. See, I moved out when I was 17. I never tell people this story very much. I was out of the house when I was 17. Right on. And literally, if it wasn't for a couple of unfortunate incursions, which some of it is self-inflicted, would have never ever had to ever stay with my parents again after that point. Literally been in back of my parents' homes for a total of, in my past 20, a year and a half. So we're talking about literally from 17 to 30 years old. I spent a year and a half's worth of time in my parents' home. That's it. I've been on my own for a long time. So how I see things sometimes is just different. I might seem like I'm being rebellious to y'all, but I'm really not. I just need y'all to get that, like, the bad that's coming to this country is terrible. You can't tell me that at 17 I was grown, but at 17 I thought I was grown. Now here I am 30 and I'm like, I know I wasn't grown. So I believe that the miseducation of black people, so-called, right? The Afro people, true Afro people, not the imposters, that their miseducation has been so destructive. And the very few of them who've been able to accumulate or to become anything in this land, they've had to give up a whole lot. I've done far less chipping away at my soul than a lot of other people have. See, because only you know when you've done something that you weren't supposed to do. You know it right here and right here. You know, everybody knows. Even the evil and the wicked know when they've done wrong. It's just, do they care? Would tell a grown man who had to work his whole life that his little 18-year-old daughter is a grown woman. Really? Brain ain't even fully developed yet, as far as they think. Can't be. Just because she can get pregnant the first time she menstruates. Does that make her a fucking woman? Fuck no. But you got stupid ass niggas who think that. And in this land, all over the land, they have different rules where in which they can violate and do wickedness to your younglings, corrupting them forever. And by the time that they come to their senses, it's normally too late. You know how many females I've met who were like 35 years old and they have a child who's like fucking 16, 17, 18? Motherfuckers grown. Right. Right. They're all couple years, they're out of there. They really don't have to listen to you. Right. But they're grown up now. They're an actual they're capable of thought. They're just not capable of rational long-term thinking, logical long-term thinking. No young person truly is unless they grew up around people like that and they were raised like that. That's a fact. I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised to think long term. But what I was raised was, if you don't know, you don't do it. That's what I was taught. So that took me to the very point that I'm at now. If I don't know something, if I don't know what it is, I normally don't do it. That's just what it is. That's how you stay the fuck out of trouble. But you got a lot of cats who they've made a name for themselves in this generation for pushing the limits. Always trying to see how far they can get with the boundaries of either another person or the perceived understood norms of society, and seeing how far they can push that. Saying, okay, well, how much will they let me get away with if I can't get away with everything? Creating situations and circumstances that bring them to violence, that bring them to a sudden demise. I haven't heard of more teenagers getting killed than when I was in high school. And it's normally pretty bad with the youth. You know, at any time in the history of this country, the youth always want to hurt one another. But this last year, I've seen so much in this land on the headlines, and I've seen enough out here in these streets where I'm like, yes. I mean, if you're 15 and you have a gun, you're probably not going to want to fight anybody because they're enamored with what they believe is power. It's not so much cowardice when you're 15 that you shoot somebody. I need y'all to understand that. It's not just because, oh, he's afraid. That's why he shot him. No. Bravado made him shoot. He feels that if I do this, there's going to be females who like it. There's going to be males who were like, oh, yeah, bro, I got you, bro. I'll hide you out. I'll put you away in the duck off. Well, nobody find out who you are. Well, nobody find you over here. We got you, bro. We'll bring you food. We'll bring you some chronic. We'll bring you bitches. We'll do all that shit for you. Got this little nigga out here hitting niggas now. That's how it happens. That's how it happens. Anyway, everybody believes they've seen it, but everybody ain't seen it. Everybody ain't seen somebody shoot at somebody with the intent to kill. Everybody ain't shot at somebody with the intent to kill. Everybody ain't shot at somebody with the intent to suppress. Everybody ain't seen somebody get shot at and be suppressed. It's totally different. When you've actually seen it with your two eyes and you're like, okay, that's what that looks like. When you're not involved all the way in the situation, but you're there, you're in the moment with everyone else, but you're not actually particularly personally involved other than you physically being there. Now, let me just get back to my point. This disaster in the West is what's really coming. A lot of folks talking about they'll be damned if Joe Biden kicks the can while he's in the presidency and they allow a Jamaican Indian to become the first woman president. They'll be damned, right? They just might be damned, though. That's the part about it. Just might be. You just might be. Now, if y'all thought the shit was crazy with Joe Biden, imagine how crazy it would really be. Right on? Because I'm pretty sure it's is it Secretary of State who's next in line? After the vice president, or is it somebody who's like a speaker? I forget the whole chain of command and then the whole hierarchy, how that goes. But I know it's something like that though. So whoever is, I mean, technically, I don't see Joe Biden dying. I just think that would be too kind on him at this point. I think God would be just being way too nice if he did something like that to Joe Biden. So I don't think he's gonna take Joe Biden up out of here. I believe that he's gonna have to finish what's left of his presidency, and I do believe that the next presidency, the country's gonna be on the brink of what you believe is to be called a civil war, a real one. And then what are they gonna do then? Huh? They're gonna keep calling me a coon? They're gonna keep calling me a nothing ass nigga, a dusty ass nigga, huh? They're gonna keep calling me a nobody. They're gonna keep calling me a sellout, huh? What then? When it becomes evident to them that there's no more aggregating of the resources to be done because people need that money to protect themselves, then what? Because I'm not the only one who's looking at this shit both eyes wide open. I know I'm not. I can't be. I'm actually confident that I'm not. Let me give y'all an analogy. If you do something in one state and could not maintain, so I'll just give you an example. What makes you think you're going to get to another one to do the same? I'll give you a prime example. I knew a cat who came from Chicago, right? I met this nigga like 5 years ago. Light-skinned brother with dreads and shit, little beard and all that shit. And the nigga left Chicago. He told me straight up. He said niggas was trying to kill him in Chicago. So he left. Came out to Seattle. I used to see this dude every weekend. Without fail, I used to see this dude every weekend. All he wanted was an all beef, either for his lady, right? You know what I'm saying? Word. You know what I'm saying? Or a spicy for himself. Now, what I used to laugh about was the nigga left Chicago. I assume he was dealing dope while he was out there. Came out here wanting to be a dope dealer, as opposed to doing something different, right? Now, one night, this brother, and this is called Justice. He tried to rob this dude, and I knew the dude who he tried to rob. Dude was a mixed dude, right? Named Patrico. And Patrico was like, bro, he's like, man, he's like, dude, I let this motherfucker stay in my apartment for like 3 nights and shit. And then we was coming up the other night from this other little club, and he was like, and dude tried to rob me. He's like, so I had to beat his ass. He's like, it ended up accidentally ripping out 3 of his dreads on accident, right? Like he's like, I just happened to pull him up by his hair. He's like, I wasn't trying to snatch him up. He's like, but the fucking hair just fell out. He's like, dude ran off. And I used to see bro after that. And bro used to always be talking about how he was gonna get dude and this, that, and the other. And I was like, bro, didn't you leave Chicago for the same reason? You know, because niggas wanted to get at you. Now the dude that he fucked with just so happened to be an everyday working schmo. So Trico wasn't really trying to get at this dude like that. But I really imagine that if he really wanted to, he could have done something to this nigga. And I'm sitting there like, you want me to take up for you even though you're wrong. He don't get it. He been inundated in that way of life for so long that he can't see what's coming to him. Like, bro, I ain't seen this nigga in years. I ain't been out in Seattle like that really fucking around. So, you know, I don't know what's what with a lot of these cats. But I do know this much. Doing shit like that and get your ass broke off. Word? You go into somebody's home and trying to act like you're gonna rob them or anything like that, that'll get you killed. So he's lucky that dude didn't just break his whole neck. But besides all that, the fact that he came from one place, thought that he could come and be on the same bullshit he had already been on, and thought that he was going to get a different result. Had he done that, first and foremost, he's never trying that on a nigga in Chicago. That's number one. So-called Chirac. He's never trying that. Because he'd have been too afraid to get his ass drilled out, blazed up, hit with that hammer. You understand what I'm talking about? So he'd have been way too afraid of that. But because you out here in Washington and Seattle, you think all these niggas is pussy. You think every one of these niggas is soft. Well, I'm going to push the line on these niggas. Fuck around and get killed. Let me tell y'all something, man. If y'all believe that America could go and bomb Afghanistan the way that they did, if y'all believe that America could go and bomb Iraq the way that it did, if y'all believe that they could go and carpet bomb the whole Middle East the way that they've done, I'm talking about murder relentless, not killings, murder relentless, relentlessly, whatever you want to say, and think that there's no get back for that. There's nothing for that. If you think that you can try to sanction a country into oblivion and there's no get back for that, you're tripping. Like I told y'all, man, all these so-called Asian nations that acting like they fighting with one another, they're not fighting with one another. They know that if they all teamed up, they'd all be sanctioned by the so-called West. Right. They're just trying to get their money up. They're just trying to get their resources all the way up. So that way, if they have to get shut off from the rest of the world, they can. But if you got life fucked up, if you think that any of them cats over there are like, oh yeah, it's peace now, just because America left and they left with their tail tucked between their legs, you think it's peace? Right now, as I speak, somebody crossing that border down there in the southwest or the southeast or the southern central areas of the country, or coming from up north where I'm living, because I'm living in Washington, so they could be coming up from Canada. Well, and they coming up here, or coming down this way, I should say, now from Canada. Ishbab, Abdullah, Muhammad, right? Farid, all of them. Yeah? Omar, Jamar, all of them. Okay? Umar. Just in case y'all didn't think that was one of their names, that's the name of a Middle Eastern. Even though they adopted it from somewhere else, that's who goes by it now. So Umar and all those cats. I'm like crossing the border right now. Talking about sí, se habla. Me llamo es Juan. Mi nombre es Juan. Right. 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 You think I'm lying? Okay. Okay. Soy de Jalisco. Right. Right now, as we speak. Telling them, you feel me? Mi familia, everybody, right? All killed, all muerte, right? All of them, everybody dead. I'm seeking sanction. I'm seeking sanction. Put me in cell. This nigga will sit in a cell for fucking 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. But if they just cut him loose right to the society, he's like, right to work. Let me get my money up. Let me get a couple straps. Let me get my money up. Let me tap in with my people because you know he's a sleeper or he's at least a cell that's acting like a sleeper. These dudes they're here already, y'all. They're already here. Did y'all see how the dudes were built who took back Afghanistan? Them cats aren't built with no guns. The niggas is skinny and frail looking. Word? They are skinny and frail looking with little pouches on their belly and took back Afghanistan in robes and sandals with turbans on. It'll be way less harder to overthrow America just by happenstance that the states are bigger, right on. It's way harder to actually shut shit down here. They're not going to. The same government that brought in cats from Afghanistan is not going to want to say that these dudes is over here committing so-called terrorist activity. So they're going to pawn that off on the immigrants, so-called immigrants, immigrantes, right? They're going to put that off on them. The disaster that's coming to the West, I just don't know if people really see it. Even if they get one fake pseudo kumbaya moment, it will not change the overall outcome. See, it's blood for blood. I keep telling y'all that. That's the law. The law is blood for blood. Abdullah can't undo the law that it is that he's supposed to be following. Neither can Duyan. Y'all forgot all about. Don't worry. I let Rick fall off the burner for a reason. Because I don't have no time to have the FBI or nobody knocking on my fucking door asking me stupid ass questions. Okay, about how I know this and how I know this. Because the information is right in front of me. And unless y'all make it not available, I'm going to be able to read and come to my own understanding. But that's not what they want to hear. And what they want to hear is, no, nigga, how do you really know this shit? Who's your handler? I don't have no handler. I've had niggas accusing me of being a Fed to my face. I've had niggas online accuse me of being a Fed. I'm like, wow, of all things you could accuse me of, I have to be a Fed. I couldn't just be like a supplicant, maybe even a prophet light. Nope, can't be one of those. He damn sure ain't no supplicant. And he even is less so a prophet light. So guess what? I'm stuck with being the Fed to them. People said, "Oh, you over here kissing your own ass." No, I'm not. I'm telling y'all what's about to happen. I can't say every little thing, but let's just say it like this. When they try and make you slaves again in different ways, what would you do? Do they technically have to put you back on a plantation to make you a slave? Or could they just make it to where your life is no longer enjoyable at all? Then how would you feel about these cats who you allowed to aggregate your resources and potentially put themselves out of bounds of that same authority? Right on? Do y'all understand? Then what? Because that's where we're headed. We're not headed anywhere nice. We can't be headed anywhere nice. You mean to tell me that you think that Joe Biden is in control of his mind? The Gentile hasn't been controlled, excuse me, he thinks he's a man. The man hasn't been in control of his mind since his son Beau Biden perished. That was the end of Joe Biden. Go back and look. If you don't believe me, go back and look. When Beau Biden, his son, passed away, that was the end. That was the end of Joe Biden. It was done right then and there. He's been a shell of his former self because Beau was the one that he looked to be his problem solver and to be the next one up. Hunter is this little piece of shit that he just deals with. And it doesn't matter because Beau's worth fucking 10 hunters. He's gone now. So his pride and joy died. And when his pride and joy died, he died. Don't worry. I know what I'm talking about. See, Gentiles don't exactly know what love is all the time. But when they get to a certain age, they understand that that feeling I felt my whole life was love. Or the feeling I felt my whole life was hate. They have to teach themselves sometimes because they're never taught these things. They're just taught how to compete with one another and how to stay ahead of a black man. So-called black man. You know, Afro. Because if you ain't got one of these, right? People don't know. You feel me? My shit is long. Okay? I just keep it packed in. Okay, my shit is long as fuck. Anyway, that's the point of all that. But Joe, he lost the one that he needed the most. So if y'all think that that dude is in his right mind, you really gonna find out the hard way. He's not gonna relinquish the reins to a black chick. Give a fuck how many slaves your granddaddy owned, bitch. So they don't care. They don't care. She gonna have to find out the hard way that no one gives a fuck. Joe Biden is a one-term president. One term. He's a single-term president. Whoever gets in here next, I'm telling you, they're driving this shit all the way to the ground. If he don't do everything, let me reiterate myself. He helped to create private equity firms. You let a guy who literally created the business of destroying businesses become the president. I might be the only one that finds that ironic and hilarious because it is both. Don't believe me? Look up his past. Don't believe Jonesy? Look up Joe Biden's past. and tell me he didn't work for a private equity firm. Tastes like justice. I told y'all, justice. That's what it tastes like. Want to know why? Because I have no need to lie about any of this. Care about none of that. I could care less about the fact that I know that Biden has placed this country in imminent peril. I'm just waiting until we find out that, that there's like I don't know, Cholo or somebody who's got access to certain codes and certain information that they should have never had access to. That's what I'm waiting for. Jabatowski can't be trusted, and Strudovich can't be trusted. So who are they going to trust? I asked y'all this. How many individuals do y'all know with the last name Biden, other than the so-called president and his clan? Hell, I even asked y'all this. How many individuals do y'all know with the last name Trump? See, this is how you know that they're actually immigrantes. When you can lay their name up and say, how many people do I know with the same name? It tells you everything. Literally everything. And if you can't put the two and two together, like, okay, I don't know any Bidens. And I've never met any Trumps. The only Trumps I've ever known of is the Trumps on TV. Wow. Ironically, they both come magically from immigrants. Oh, too proud to take a truly traditional American last name, right? Got to keep it different. I don't care what nobody thinks. Still going to be right at the end of the day. The disaster that's coming to the West, most of y'all ain't ready for. About 97%. More than that would survive just based on sheer numbers. But most of them ain't ready for what's about to happen. Your government right now, as we speak, is trying to rift open portals to a dimension that's on this earth that they can't get to. They can't dig through it. They can't claw through it. They can only get so far down into the earth. Your government, all governments right now as you speak, some of them are trying to keep them from doing that. Some are trying to help them accomplish doing just this. The problems that you have are far greater than a fucking terrorist. But I'll tell you about the base issues so that way you don't be worried about 30, 40-foot tall fucking monsters running amok. Because, of course, that's hard to believe, I guess. Hard to believe that after everything else you've seen in your life. How they literally shut down the entire earth for something that seemed like it was only killing those with weakened immune systems and those that were already old. And the young. Really, 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 really young. Little babies. I didn't hear too many babies dying of sudden of SIDS. You know what I'm saying, sudden infant death syndrome. Probably told baby had COVID. Don't worry. Don't worry. I would rather you think that there's no such thing as fucking monsters in the middle of this planet, some of which are actually totally interconnected with world governments right now. It's better that you don't believe that, because if you did believe that, you might want to do the right thing. And I'm the kind of individual who's like, I'm not the Messiah. Word. But I do agree with that. I don't want anyone to repent who's not supposed to repent. So I'd rather them not even listen and hear a word that I have to say. Glad that I spoke no so-called facts. Glad that I spit nothing that was not my own. I'd rather speak to you all by myself. If someone can't tell you how they feel all on their own, they're not fit to speak to you. Did you hear me? If someone cannot talk to you all by themselves, all on their own, they aren't fit to speak to you. I'm not saying that I'm fit to speak to you, but I believe that I am because I'm not worried what anyone thinks. I don't care what anyone thinks. They can't show me what they know. One moment. Don't worry. They won't let me get my article that I'm looking for right now. Have no fear. I will be doing a little piece on my other laptop. This is my Apple that I'm on right now. So I'm gonna use my Asus. I'm gonna pull up my corporate greeds. I'm gonna see which one it is. I'm gonna get the exact part of it snidbitted, put it into a video, and then I'm gonna carry forward like that because I know for a fact that Joe Biden helped create. He worked for one of the very first private equity firms. Have no fear. Right on. Like when I say have no fear, have no fear. John Kerry, all these guys, a lot of these senators, when you don't know what kind of work they were involved in, oh, he was a lawyer and this and this and this and this. There's a bunch of lawyers who were involved in things like private equity firms because it's harder to sue a lawyer than it's not. Did you hear what I'm saying? It's way more difficult for you to tell me I'm going to sue this lawyer than it is for you to say, "Oh, right, I'm gonna just let it be." This guy already has. Let me tell y'all something about the law, about how it actually works. In a particular state where a person practices law, where they went to law school at, they know the individuals who were in the court system. Chances are, at a certain age, you know who the judge is if you're a certain age because you went to school with these people. So when you go into the courtroom and y'all done tag team chicks and snorted lines of coke and did all kinds of dumb shit, they're more likely, no matter how improbable and unlikely it is, no matter how impossible it seemed, the judge or whoever the authoritative figure is in that case is more likely to side with their old comrade than they are with you. No matter how righteous the case no matter how righteous the cases you bring forward. So what I'm saying is that if Joe Biden worked at a private equity firm and he's a lawyer, it's hard for somebody who works in that business to say, "Oh, I'm gonna take you to court." He's like, "Let's go to court then. Fuck it, let's go to court." Just for you to go to court to find out that Joe Biden actually knew the judge. Right. Find out that Joe Biden knew the guy that was representing you. Right. See what I'm saying? And nobody wants to hear that. This is how private equity firms work. This is the only way they work. You're able to bully pulpit your way around after folks who were there who were like, "Hey, this isn't what you guys agreed to do. Take us to court then." You think does anybody think I'm lying about this? Take us to court. That's what they feel. You're not going to win. On the chance that you do win, we've already done so much damage to your business, we'll give this piece of shit back to you. We ain't giving you no money. And what little money we gave you, man, we made so much off of selling your business. It's crazy. What do y'all anybody who's seen dollar stores, Dollar Generals, Dollar Trees go up where they're living, tell me I'm lying that you didn't see a mom and pop's convenience store, maybe even a tiny grocery store in those places. Now it's a dollar store. Adding to the food desert. And don't nobody think that's an issue. Only me. I think it's an issue. Of course, I think it's a problem. Of course I do. I have to think it's a problem. Want to know why? Because I told y'all before, private equity firms are bringing this shit down. That's another word for we're about to sell everything and say, fuck this business. Or we're about to exploit the powerful, strong parts of this business and then still fuck everything, sell the rest. That's how they work. The disaster in the West is built on corporate greed. Think about this. One of these dirty bastards will pay an enormous amount of money for a hooker, some ass, as they would like to say. We're talking $100,000 in a night, $75K in a night, one night. And these cats are supposed to be showing me and you how it's done. Because it took your company, my company, sold off the best pieces of it, went and lived it up, gave a female someone's working wage, fuck 2 or 3 working wages, 5 working wages, depending on how much money you make for a year in one night. And ain't nothing wrong with that. Everybody's like, it's all good, bro. That's business. How the fuck is that business? And how can you maintain doing something like that? I don't know if anybody's ever watched the movie Django like I've watched it. Cause I can bring it up just boom, right off rip. What's the point of having the rules of Southern hospitality dictate that I make her available to him? What's the point of having a nigga who speaks German if you have a German guest and you can't will her out when you have one? Follow what I'm saying. What's the point of having a nigga who speaks German and you can't will her out when you have a German guest? Right on? Now, I know this is a great inconvenience to you. Right on? Man, listen. Southern hospitality. You know, song that Ludacris made famous, right? Did Luda know that was Southern hospitality back then? To make a nigga available? See, now the movie didn't show no faggots in it, which I thought was incredible. Because Quentin Tarantino didn't want to go there. He didn't want to make Calvin Candy a homosexual with a sweet boy companion with him. Right? Where everybody would have been able to assume, what is that dude doing there? Extra sweet like. Couldn't do that. Had to make it a female. Even though white dudes notoriously are known for sleeping with black homosexuals because they pay them for sex. Notorious for this shit. They're literally known for this shit. I told y'all, there was the white dude and the brother Ant, and Ant was letting the white dude run up his back. Ant is as tall. This nigga Ant is like 6'7", 6'8", 210, 220. At least when he was around, when I was, seeing him in Seattle. He might be skinnier now, but Ant was no little ass nigga. Ant was body filled out. You know what I'm saying? Letting the white dude run up his backside. Ant from Alabama. I'm trying to figure out what would make a dude who could break this motherfucker's whole face. One shot, break his whole shit. What would make this dude bend over for a motherfucker like that? And I never met the white dude that was violating him, because I would have thought it did something righteous, but unrighteous to that motherfucker. I would have hurt that dude so bad. Once again, they can't show that part. But I done seen it. So you can't take that out my mind. I done seen niggas get into a car and I'm like, who the fuck is he getting in that car with? Oh, that's the white dude who come up here once a month. For what? Oh, man. I don't even want to tell you, because you might not let him work with you no more. And after that, I really didn't let him work with me like that, because I lost so much respect for bro. It's like, man, can't fucking deal with that, bro. Word? You letting a fucking punk ass white boy run up your backside, my nigga? While I'm giving you my hard-earned ducats and you fucking a white boy? Or letting him fuck you? Nigga, what the fuck do I look like? See, this is the shit I'm talking about, though. And people have never dealt with that in their own life, where they're like, whoa, I have to make a decision. Do I continue to enable this cat, or do I just cut them off all the way? Had to cut bro off. And the more he got cut off, the more he was like losing his grip on reality. Because I didn't know what the fuck this nigga was up to until another homeless dude told me. And I'm just thinking like, what the fuck? And that's what I'm trying to tell y'all, yo. It's like, if you think that Calvin Candy couldn't have been a faggot in Django, you tripping. What's coming to this country is evil. It's the evil that they've wrought onto the entire earth. And they know that they deserve it. Anyone who's ever seen a broken brother or sister knows what I'm talking about. Like I told y'all, okay? Right on? In my old school video, the right, the wrong, the heinous. Old girl from the islands got out the car, bawling her eyes out. Please, can I have some money? He was supposed to give me listen to me, $10 for a blowjob. She was supposed to have been given. Motherfucker didn't even give her that. Punk ass white boy. Hope his whole family died of COVID. This is how they've been doing. This is how they do our people. Word? And she from the islands, and I claim her. So this is why when like niggas don't understand like why I go so hard on everybody from everywhere else, is because I've seen so much. And I'm just telling y'all the things that I'm willing to tell you on this camera. There's way more things I've shared with Brother Wickham on the phone and Brother Spice on the phone that I'm ever going to say on this camera. Because it's just, I don't want to expose them to that level. But I'll say what the whole world and God already knows. I have no problem doing that. But what I'm not going to do is things that only I know about certain people. Me and God and them. That's it. Or me and whatever they done and God and them. Because they just straight told me like, bro, this shit happened to me. I keep that shit to myself. But the things where I'm like, I can't keep that to myself. I have to tell y'all. I've seen, before this nigga Tariq made the whole shit about buck breaking, I've been seeing niggas being buck broke. My whole life, I done seen bad witches and bad bugs. My whole fucking life. It ain't brand new to me. It ain't new to me. It ain't nothing like that to me. All it is something that I have to accept that I have a very difficult time accepting. I have to accept that my brothers and my sisters would rather breed out than breed in. Wow. Or not breed at all. Or breed with something that you can't even breed with. That is what I've had to deal with. Fuck this herbal. Right on. Fuck the fact that they say I'm not supposed to have a gun. Let somebody try to pull a gun on me while I got one of my swords and I can get to it. I'm gonna cut their ass down and I'm gonna take their gun and I'm gonna unload their whole magazine on their bitch ass. All in their face. All in their face. Motherfuckers don't understand how I be feeling about these police officers. I don't like nigga cops. I hate nigga cops. So I really hate white cops. I don't get on here talking to tell y'all about that type of shit because I can't stand them. Because they're part of the problem. All these motherfuckers is part of the problem. They all rapists. They all fucking serial abusers. All of them. For every motherfucker that says something sideways about Bill Cosby, you going to hell. Because I know for a fact you a sinner. Any nigga that says something sideways about R. Kelly, you going to hell. Because I know for a fact you a sinner. Same type of motherfuckers who talk shit about Cosby and Kelly. Same niggas who done played their music and loved it. Loved it. You didn't even know what they was up to, so-called. But you could find through public records that Joe Biden had done what he done with the 3 strikes law. Okay? And the shit concerning drugs. Word? Right. Because the crime bill led to the 3 strikes law with Clinton. They doubled down. Right. But everybody, once again, you niggas who look like me and you voted in this piece of shit. Helped him get to where the fuck he's at. And have the nerve to fix their lips about Bill Cosby or R. Kelly. Think about that for a moment. But Joe Biden helped to lock up an innumerable number of black brothers, so-called black, Afro brothers, who what? Who have skills, who have knowledge, who have understanding, who have wisdom. Some of which deserve to be locked up. I will say that. But most of which do not. Most of them never had an opportunity or a chance to prove themselves worthy to society. By the time that they thought that they were worthy to prove themselves, society had already shut the door on them. Wish I could smell this food. It smells bomb. But society did shut the door on those people, those brothers and those sisters. And has called them responsible for their own shortcomings. Even though they will hire a toothless meth addict to come work in their shop who looks like they actually are deranged, as opposed to hiring a brother who washes backside every day, brushes teeth every day, and care about how he looks when he's going somewhere important. Right. That kind of shit. Ain't nobody gonna tell you that Joe Biden's not responsible for black people suffering right now. He is. He's a part of the reason why they suffer. On top of us being a part of the reason why Afro people suffer. Now worry about if you don't grow an Afro and you calling yourself black, you better start putting niggas with Afros first. Otherwise, then get the fuck off my channel. Get the fuck out of here. We're first. Everyone else comes after us. Did y'all hear me? Every Afro person come first. Everything else come after us. That's a fact no matter how you look at it. And I'll be damned if I give up my position to a lesser being who doesn't even have the institutions of righteousness instilled in their very body. The fuck out of here. You allow black people to be persecuted and treated like trash. And some of the very people who come and listen to this talk about black people like they're like trash. Same money being used to build a museum could be used could be used to build a spot that could house most of the homeless in Los Angeles. If nothing else, all the black people. Same money could be used to hire security for a whole year straight up to enforce the rules that you want to enforce. Do they do that? No. They think a museum to expound on the things that are not even important. They think that that's what takes critical precedence over the actual survival of their people. And they wonder why the Most High God has given them children who are learning to fish. It's okay. The Most High God has ways of repaying people in ways that they don't even realize. Old devil can't do nothing for you. Ain't gonna save you. Old devil gonna get you fucked up. That's a fact. I'm here to try to save my people. Like I said, the angel who in which you are supposed to pray to. Can't think of his name right now. I don't know if it's Uriel, Tamriel. I don't know if it's Gabriel. Right on. I don't know if it's Mikael, Raphael, Isaac. You get what I'm saying? Azriel. I forget which angel it is. It's one of them. One of them. You're supposed to pray, and they hear the prayers. I would hope that black people, before I get off and I really end this little, oh yeah, because I love this one. I love it. Love it. LUB. You know why? Because I'm not going to be held responsible in the end. I said I wouldn't read, but here I am, going to the book of wisdom. Give me one moment. But the souls of the righteous, chapter 2, verse 1. Excuse me, chapter 3, verse 1. But the souls of the righteous, the book of wisdom, are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery, and their going from us to be utter destruction. But they are in peace. For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet their hope is full of immortality. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For God proved them, and found them worthy himself. As gold in the furnace, he has tried them, and received them as a burnt offering. And in the time of their visitation, they shall shine, and run to and fro, like sparks among the stubble. And they shall judge the nations, and have dominion over the people. And their Lord shall reign forever. Stop right there. Black people, Afro people, the children of Israel, and the strangers alike. Need y'all to understand. No matter what happens to you, here, the Most High God is in control. He will do right by you. because it is his rule, so he must. I salute you. I salute you one more time. And I salute you again as your brother. And I appreciate all that you do, all that you don't do. I appreciate all that will be done. May the Most High God continue to bless your minds. May you see that what I have said tonight is not encrypted nor imperishable, but it is generalization so that way you can perceive and imagine in your own minds what must be done and what is right. May tomorrow be better than today. And may this week be better than your last. We're out.